Slow Synchronizers. I'm back في medical physiology كيف تعيش digestive system يكون يعني health و تشوي جزء محاضرة كذي وادار مهودان تنجيز ستاندرد جد وهواية كتوشن بوهمو digestive system and satiety which is يعني health. It is made of two main sections. The first one part is called the alimentary tube. It is just like a tube, يعني شوي بوريته. وبس يدوها which is called the accessory organs of the digestive system. يعني أو تاشكو organa اللي يتنداون اللي يصير ثلاثة digestive system هو role here in the process of digestion and digestion of the food. Okay, so the alimentary tube, it is a tubular structure, extended from where it started from the oral cavity, as you see here, started from the mouth or the oral cavity, and end up with the anus. يعني إذا كده السيكا لدمو ده السيكا والكوتايتي سيكيل ده كوم ده but you follow it GIT. So it is made of the oral cavity, pharynx, esophagus, what we have here is the stomach, then small intestine. It is the longest part of the digestive system. It is made of different sections, duodenum and ileum. Then what we have a large intestine. This section is all recognized as the large intestine, and the rectum and anus. So the accessory organs of the digestive system includes the teeth. Teeth is the category of an accessory organ. Then what we have a tongue within the oral cavity. As you know, we can use this structure to mucus and to move the food particles within the oral cavity. Then we have a salivary gland, which we will explain this later. This is liver, you know this. And this structure also is called the, this one is the gallbladder, also is a part of the kinetic considered as an accessory organ of the digestive system. Then what we have here is the pancreas. Pancreas also, it has a role in the process of digestion. The gastrointestinal tract is mainly made of different structures. I'm not going through the detail of these structures because you are expected to have an idea, an overall idea about the GIT structure. So it's made of different layers, and the thickness and the function of this layer might be changing according to the part of the GIT tract. For instance, the muscle layers might be much more thicker in the stomach compared to what with the intestine. So it starts with the epithelial cells. It is a simple epithelial layer. The type of the cells is varied based on the type and the part of the digestive system. For instance, it might be simple squamous or stratified or cuboidal or columnar, depending on the let us say the organ or the part of the GI. Then what we have lamina propria. It is a type of made of a type of connective tissue, and the blood vessels are mainly located into this part of the GI tract section. Also what we have muscularis mucosa. The muscularis mucosa is mainly involved with the with the surface area of the GIT. Then what we have two layers of muscle, circular and longitudinal muscle layer. And if you have a look here, we have two, let us say, two layers of nerve fibers, which are called as submucosal plexus and mantic plexus. So we will explain the functions of the following structures later. Okay. So let us start with the GIT tract innervation. As you know, the function of the GIT tract can be regulated through the hormonal and some neuronal pathways. So now I am going to explain the nerve or nervous system of the GIT tract, and if I'm speaking about the nervous system, GIT tract, and later we will try to explain some hormones which might have a role in the regulation of the GIT tract function. So normally the GIT is supplied with the autonomic nervous system, and it's made of what? Of two type of the neurons. The first one is called the extrinsic nervous system, first group, and the second group, and the group you can associate extrinsic. Why it is called extrinsic? Because the impulses or the neurons came from the outside of the GI, or from the central nervous system. So, and the second group is called the intrinsic because it is either directly related to what? To the GIT tract, or located between the layers of the GIT tract. So the intrinsic neuron is made of a sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve fibers. So the sympathetic neurons are mainly involved with the activation of the function of the GIT tract. Again, they have the an excitatory action or function, so they induce the motility or the function of the GI. While the sympathetic nervous system or neurons is usually prevent or inhibit the function of the GI. This is the difference between the sympathetic and parasympathetic innervation of the GI. Yani parasympathetic hani yola bu فعالية كتير جهتية دا بلام sympathetic nervous system شكات يعني suppression يكات و prevention شكات function كان جهتية. The intrinsic neurons, I think we already mentioned this. We have two layers of them. Nerve cells. The first one is called the mantic, and the second one is called the submucosal plexus. These two classes of the neurons are regarded as intrinsic because it is intrinsic. Why? Because they are located within the structures of the GIT tract. So the mantic plexus is controlling, mainly involved with the movement of the GIT tract, so it controls the motility of the GIT tract, while the submucosal plexus is involved with what? With the control of the secretion and the blood flow. As you know, when you have a diet, you are doing like an active digestion process, so you need to have a higher blood supply. So the circulatory system or the blood supply can be increased or reduced through the submucosal plexus. In addition to that, we have some receptors that are scattered throughout the gastrointestinal tract, and these receptors can send like a sensory impulses from the GIT tract into the central nervous system or vertebral ganglion or spinal cord to regulate the function of the GIT through sympathetic and parasympathetic neurons, or directly from the mantic or submucosal plexus. So The most common receptors within the GIT are the chemoreceptors and mechanoreceptors. As you know, from the name, you can directly say the chemoreceptors are mainly responsible for the detection of like any changes in the chemical components of the digestive system. Okay, so such as when there is a change of pH, it can be detected by the chemoreceptor. Then what we have mechanoreceptors, and mechanoreceptors is also, from the name you can directly say, it can be affected by a mechanical factors such as stretching of GIT and cardiac access GIT. Serious receptor inducement ولا ريسن سيرون كان في نوع وفي وهو function كان ينتج. So in general, what we have two types of digestion within the gastrointestinal tract. The first one is recognized as like a what you call it mechanical digestion, and the second one is called the chemical digestion. The mechanical digestion is the physical breaking up of a food particles into a smaller pieces, such as chewing of food within the oral cavity. As you know, it leads to what we do the breaking down of like coarse particles into finer or smaller particles. Also, we can see the same mechanism within the stomach. As you know, we will explain this later. The stomach wall is made of like a powerful muscle, and they can crush the food particles against the stomach wall, and so it helps the process of mechanical digestion of the food. يعني في كار بشوي ميكانيكية party كان كابو تي خوانا كابو مشكلة بسوق. While chemical digestion is mainly is a function of what of the gastrointestinal tract or enzymes. Okay, let's say gastrointestinal tract enzymes. During this process, like large molecules such as polypeptides, proteins, carbohydrates, can be breaking down or chopped out into like simpler subunits or molecules such as amino acids and monosaccharides and so on. So these two processes are the most common. What is the oral cavity? The process, as we mentioned earlier, the process of digestion starts from the oral cavity. So within the oral cavity, the food can be broken down mechanically into a smaller pieces, and it can be mixed with the saliva. With the saliva, so it follows the food to be follow it, or let me say the food forward will be follow. So what is the saliva? Saliva is a watery fluid which is important to dissolve food for taste. I mean, CSAT for being a CSAT في تغيير والCSAT وأتاك food between وصل almost tasty taste, and the retreat food for pollen. CSAT وجاء وأتاك بقى ثاني taste for them food following food. Saliva is secreted by three pairs of salivary glands. They are located throughout the boundaries of the oral cavity. The first pair is called the parotid gland. This is this one. This one is the parotid gland. Then what we have submandibular, so it is located below the mandibular bone. This is submandibular gland, and we have another one which is called sublingual. Sublingual means it's located beneath the tongue. So lezzet here, lezzet zaman. So normally the saliva has the same osmolarity as the plasma. As you know, plasma is an isotonic solution. Then what we have, this is the side or the structure where the saliva can be produced. You have a thinner shell surrounding this skin. Okay. So, and then when the saliva is passing through the ductal cells, the sodium and chloride can be absorbed into the circulatory system, while potassium and bicarbonate can be excreted into the saliva. So, at the end of the day, the saliva became a hypertonic solution, and the texture of the saliva can be affected by some factors such as the nervous system. In the case of fear, anxiety, the saliva became thicker in compared to what a normal physiological process. Then, in general, saliva has some functions. The first one is the process of digestion, because as you know, the process of digestion can initiate within the oral cavity, as we have two enzymes which are secreted by the salivary glands, including the alpha amylase and lingual lipase. So, amylase is responsible for the conversion of fat into glucose and maltose. But because the food is not retained for a longer period within the oral cavity, this process is not a complex process. So it has a minor role in the process of digestion. Also, what we have a lipase. Lipase means to involve it with the process of liquid digestion. The second function of the saliva is the lubrication of ingested food by mucus. So it can help the process of swallowing. Okay, so it prevents the irritation of the esophagus. Otherwise, if without saliva, the food particles might irritate and injure the esophagus. The third function of the saliva is the protection of the mouth and esophagus by dilution and buffering of the ingested food. Another organ within the GIT tract is the stomach. I'm not going through the function of the esophagus, or I'm not going to explain the esophagus, because esophagus is a tubular structure. It is responsible for the transportation of the food from the oral cavity to the stomach. This part is the part of the esophagus, which is extended from the oral cavity towards the stomach. So, stomach is a sac-like organ that extends from the esophagus to the small intestine, here, from here to the, so from esophagus to the small intestine. That's as a reservoir for food, and also khazanah food ensure both mechanical and chemical digestion. So, both the mechanical and chemical digestion still can be seen within the stomach, because the wall of the stomach is made of a powerful muscle. They are arranged in a circular, longitudinal and oblique direction. So it's meaning just the way down, just the way there is way, but it's the stomach, and the way large إلى جوار السمكة هل وطاعة تكتب السمك بعد ثاني فهموا على السمكة contract, and this, during the contraction of the muscle, they can crush the food particles against the epithelial lining or part of the epithelial lining or part of the stomach, and this process leads to what we call mechanical breaking down of the food particle into thick liquid material, which is called fat. Okay, it's called fat. gastric juice, which is secreted by what by gastric. So what is the gastric? This is the structure of the stomach. It has like each part of the stomach has its own nomenclature, but I'm not going through it because you are expected to take the name of this specialist when you in the anatomy. So what is the gastric juice? They are glands of the stomach and consist of several types of cells. Their collective secretion, we have different types of cells. Their collective secretion are called gastric juice. طبعا أمثلة أنا بسي ناقصان السماك أدوالين واللي هنكسن هي ممكن تايتل سيل زورجي واللي هنكسن هي ممكن سيل زورجي إذا بجري سنة كيلنا السماك بس من أجل سيلات So the gastric juice consists of different types of cells. The population of those cells might be changed according to the rhythms of the stomach. Okay, so we mentioned this. So the first group of the gastric cells is called the mucus cells. They are responsible for the secretion of mucus. It coats the stomach lining stomach and prevents erosion by gastric juice. يعني كوتي ناو كوتي جدا أكاد ونالد بأساني كوتي سيدوسكي كافران بيدا هو gastric juice. But you know the pH of gastric juice is too low in compared to the other parts of the digestive system. So the second type of gastric cells is called the parietal cell. The parietal cell is responsible for the secretion of three main types of agents or chemicals. The first one is called the hydrochloric acid, HCl. The second one is the gastroserine, and the third one is the intrinsic factor. So what is the function of HCl? HCl can convert peptinoids, which is secreted by the Krebs cells, we will explain it later, into pepsin. So peptinoid is inactive form of the enzyme. In the acidic medium, it can be converted to pepsin, and pepsin is involved with the digestion of proteins into let us say polypeptides. Then what we have, the other function of the HCl is because of like a low pH or high acidity, it can kill any organisms which can enter into the stomach through the drinking water or through the food. So it can act as a line of immune system or defense mechanism against microbial infection. So the other agent is secreted by the parietal cell is called the intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor is it prevents the digestion of what? Well, let us say it is involved with the vitamin B12 absorption, and it prevents the digestion of the vitamin B12. يعني في أكاد من غيري لا حزبوني vitamin B12 بدل النار السمك, and promote this absorption by the small intestine. It means it promotes the vitamin B12 absorption by the small intestine. يعني كي المسي هم نعرض كشيء vitamin B12 نار السمك شيء بسوا بدأ كي المسي absorption في ذلك كله small intestine. أو كذلك بنمنا كشيء كان السمك كان هي بنمنا تجريان كيا تقاسي جاكاس كان تجوا نقدر تشان دوس بدل سيلا vitamin B12 deficiency ده هو كسمك ناتو نكتب الراسين تنسيق فاكتور دوس كاتيان vitamin B ومش this is what due to the vitamin B12 deficiency. I think we already mentioned the function of vitamin B12. It's mainly related to the hematopoiesis. So the second molecule, which is created by the parietal cell, is the gastroserine. Gastroserine binds to iron and enhance its absorption. يعني كيكاد جاستروسيرين لناو ستمكا بايندي لقال أرسنكا وكيكاد ويعني كيكاد يعني absorption يكاد. Again, for instance, any person who has a difficulty in your stomach or it might have like gastric bypass or gastric cancer, whatever like a condition might suffering so much from the iron deficiency as a result of the blood. So the third type of the cells of the gastric tissues is called the cyst cells. Cyst cells are responsible for the secretion of the trypsinogen. As we mentioned here, trypsinogen is the precursor of the trypsin. So it can be activated in the presence of the FCL or within the acidic medium. The trypsinogen can be activated into the trypsin, and trypsin is responsible for the digestion of protein within the stomach. So the fourth type of the cells of the gastric is called these cells. These cells are responsible for the secretion of a hormone, which is called gastrin. The gastrin secretion by the G cells can be regulated by the presence or absence of food within the stomach. When there is a food within the stomach, so the G cells can be stimulated to secrete what gastrin. Gastrin can stimulate the secretion of a greater amount of gastric juice, especially by the parietal cells. As we know, the parietal cells is a type of gastric cells. It is responsible for the secretion of three main types of chemical agents of molecules. As we illustrated here, what we have a G cells when there is availability of food or presence of food in the stomach. It induces the G cells to secrete what gastrin, and gastrin induces the secretion of gastric juice. This is especially by the parietal cells. So this is an important note about the stomach, or about the secretion of the stomach, especially by the parietal cells. What we have histamine, which is released from the enterochromatin-like cells in the gastric mucosa. So when there is an increased level of secretion of histamine, so it induces the parietal cells to produce or to secrete hydrogen ions into the stomach and stomach. So the histamine binds to the F2 receptors, which are located on the parietal cells, and it can activate the parietal cells to secrete several amount of hydrogen ions. So it means it reduces the pH of the stomach. As you know, when there is an increase in the level of hydrogen ions, it means what it means an increase in the acidity or a reduction in the pH. So هلا بدأوا هنكتب كود منا تكتب سريعا هي الصحيح إيدياني كان بونيسيت F2 receptor blockerian بونيسيت تكتب كبايندين يخلق الأمر السكرة ونالت in GC cytosol بوي سكر بوي kinetic regulation of gastric juice excretion. The gastric excretion is regulated by three main mechanisms. But let us say overall the gastrointestinal excretion can be regulated by these factors or these stimuli. The first one is called the cephalic phase. What do you mean by cephalic phase? Is such as anticipation of food, or when you are thinking about a specific type of food, or when you have been told you have a specific type of food. When you are thinking about this type of the food, you directly your stomach starts excretion of gastric juice. So the second stimulatory or regulatory factor is called the gastric phase. The gastric phase can be seen or can be induced when the food is reaching or when the food reaches the stomach. يعني كانت الكتشي خوارج ما تأخذ فأنا قاسنا وستمتت في كانت لgastric phase يعني إذا حاطك خوارج أنا وستمتت بس هذا إصابة الدني أو gastric. دواء factory في هنا بيصير COGT which is called the intrinsic phase. It started after reaching the chyme to the intestine. As you know, we said as a result of the mechanical and chemical digestion of the food within the stomach, the food particles can be converted into a thick liquid form, which is called chyme. So when we reach like a thick liquid reach to the intestine, the first phase of the gastric excretion start, which is called the intrinsic phase. So يعني هل حال كان جاي واحد يقول نص قانون جاتنا عن كرسنا ولا أشي جتيز زوجة فهو هني فاكتور وشيء كاد فإنترسين عليه الإنترسين فاكتور وأكن كستمر كاد كمية كاين بو إنترسين كم كاتوا يعني أشي جتيز كاد دابة جتي عن جان. So another section of the gastrointestinal tract is called the small intestine. As you know, small intestine is a site where the process of digestion can be completed, and the end products of digestion are absorbed into the blood and lymph. So, يعني في أكاسون تكون شنو process digestion كاتاو أجي وأو ما داني كاستوديان هذي وabsorption number بكير بترانزيت absorption absorption أكيد ولا بجي blood lymph أجي بكير بو كان له. But you know the small intestine is made of three main segments. The first one is called the duodenum, the first part of the small intestine. Then what we have this is the duodenum, the stomach. What we have then, digestive, we have duodenum. Then what we have duodenum. Okay, duodenum. This is duodenum. And then what we have in the last part of small intestine called in. What we said within the small intestine, the process of digestion can be completed. So it is the completion of digestion. The process of digestion started within the oral cavity, as we mentioned here, and it can be completed within the intestine under the influence of digestive secretions that secrete into the small intestine from liver, pancreas, and the small intestine. كمان هي بهوي process digestion power كامل أجي بهوي شيء بهوي أو شيء شانو كده ما intestine لايكيو للاني liver وزجاج للاني pancreas سوا ولقى شيء كمان هي ولقى small intestine four. هنا في back to the kind we are going to explain each of the following things. So within the small intestine, the presence of food in the duodenum stimulates what? Stimulates the intestinal glands, which are mainly called as cryptic or fibrosis, to secrete what? To secrete some types of enzymes, secretion into the intestine. It contains the digestive enzymes, including what? Peptidase, saccharase, maltase, and lactase, and the other enzymes, and each of these enzymes has a specific function within the small intestine. هذه الأمانة function بتاعتها هي لنوصل intestine. For instance, peptidase is responsible for the completion of the protein digestion by breaking down the short polypeptide changes into amino acids. Check out the possible amino acids. Right, what's in here, bonus saccharase, maltase, and lactase, effectively digested what we digest glucose by what? By stress, maltose by maltase, lactase by lactose by lactase to monosaccharides, and they can be ready for absorption. And the second organ which is involved in the process of digestion within the small intestine is the pancreas. As we know, pancreas is considered as an exocrine and endocrine gland. The exocrine gland or the pancreas is involved with the process of digestion within the small intestine, and it can excrete two types of excretion, which include pancreatic enzymes. So we have pancreatic enzymes produced by the pancreas, and it can be excreted into the small intestine. And what we have bicarbonate juice, also excreted by what? By the pancreas. The pancreatic enzymes, or the main types of the pancreatic enzymes, include the amylase. If you remember, we have another type of the amylase, which is excreted by what? By the salivary glands. So here we have another type of the amylase enzyme. Digestive maltose, as we saw it before. Then what we have lipase, converts emulsified fats to fatty acid and glycerol. Trypsin, an nucleotide. Trypsin digests the polypeptides to shorter chain of amino acids. When you take out polypeptide, it's amount of triangle people, amino acid can go away absorption. The carbonate juice, the pancreas also produces bicarbonate juice, which is, if you remember when we spoke about the pancreas, it has two types of secretion, pancreatic enzymes and bicarbonate. So what is the function of bicarbonate juice, which is an alkaline secretion? So the bicarbonate juice has a 7.5, so the pH of the bicarbonate juice is about 7.5. That neutralizes the acidic pH of the gastric juice. As we remember, we said the gastric juice has an acidic pH, so it is about 1 to 2. So before, as we know, the small intestine cannot tolerate such a high acidic media. So before the acidic kind, before damaging the duodenal mucosa, it can be neutralized by what? By the bicarbonate juice. So also it can provide an alkaline, or let's say we provide an optimal pH for the intestinal enzyme to apoptosis. As you know, the intestinal enzymes might not be activated in an acidic pH. So the third organ which is involved in the process of the completion of the digestion of the small intestine is the liver. Liver has a contribution in the process of digestion through the production and secretion of bile. The bile can be secreted by what? By the hepatocytes. And any kind of root secret can be secreted by the hepatocytes. And the bile is a dark green to yellowish brown fluid made of bile salts, phospholipids, cholesterol, and bile pigment. The bile pigment is mainly made of part of the bilirubin. So the formed bile can be stored within the gallbladder, and when there is a fatty food within the small intestine, it can directly be secreted into the small intestine to emulsify the food molecule. So bile salt, which is a component of a bile, are antipathetic molecules because they have both hydrophilic and hydrophobic portions. يعني فيها antipathetic يعني هم hydrophilic يعني حزيدة أو هم hydrophobic portion fatty hydrophobic. In aqueous solution, bile solids orient themselves around like a fat droplets and emulsify them to increase the surface area of the fat droplets to facilitate the chemical digestion. So as you know, the fat molecules, because of their hydrophobic property, they cannot be dissolved within the water, but because of the biofilms, these can be converted, like large molecules can be converted into a smaller molecules, and when they form it, so they can directly, or the surface area of the molecules can be increased, and through this process, the process of digestion can be facilitated. So, as we see here, this is the gallbladder. The gallbladder is a sac-like structure that stores bile and release it when satisfied inside the duodenum. I think we already mentioned it. So the liver can regulate the process or contribute in the process of digestion by the production and release of bile. So hormonal regulation of the intestinal secretion is, if you remember when you explained the nervous system of the GIT tract, what we said the GIT tract is function can be regulated through the nervous system and through the hormonal factors or hormonal, let us say, Perturbação هي كوسمان كونداني هل تتواند بهوي كونداني دمارو وبهوي هرمونو دجبخي و perturbação كونداني دمار معناتها كلا تجربة. Now I am going to talk about a bit about the hormonal regulation of the intestinal secretion. One of the hormones which is secreted by the duodenal mucosa is called secretin. Secretin can be secreted by the duodenal mucosa when the chyme is entered into the small intestine. So when the chyme from the stomach enters into the duodenum, it can induce the duodenal cells to secrete what? To secrete secretin. Secretin stimulates an increase in the pancreatic juice secretion. If you remember, we said we have pancreatic enzymes, and we have we have bicarbonate juice. Also, the bicarbonate juice from the pancreas can be also increased, and there is an increase in the bile production. So, the bile production by the hepatocytes can be induced by what? By the presence of the hormone secretin. The other type of the hormone, which is called cholecystokinin, it is also produced by duodenal mucosa when chyme enters the small intestine. So again, similar to that of the secretin, cholecystokinin can be secreted by the duodenal mucosa when chyme enters into the duodenum. So in turn, the cholecystokinin can increase the pancreatic enzyme secretion. Pancreatic enzyme secretion can be induced by what? By the cholecystokinin, and also cholecystokinin can enhance the contraction of the wall of the gallbladder and force the bile into the intestine. If you remember, we just said secretin induce the production of the bile by the hepatocytes, while cholecystokinin induce the contraction of the wall of the gallbladder, and it enhances the release of the bile into the duodenum. So, secretin involved with what? With the bile production. Cholecystokinin, contraction of the gallbladder to release the bile into the small intestine. Then, what we have, the process of digestion. What we explained is all about the GIT function. Now, what is the process of digestion? The process of digestion is a complex process through which, like a carbohydrate, protein, and polypeptide molecules, lipid molecules can be converted into what? Into a simpler molecule or absorbable molecule. So, the process of carbohydrate, protein, and lipid digestion is completed within the intestine, and then the process of absorption can start there. So the surface area of the absorption in the small intestine is greatly increased by what? By the presence of the intestinal brush borders. So brush borders of the intestine, so it can expand or it can increase the surface area of the absorption. What we have here is how the carbohydrate can be digested or can be absorbed. So the carbohydrate must be digested through monosaccharides, such as glucose, galactose, and fructose. Because within the intestine, only the monosaccharides can be absorbed by the enterocytes. It means the di and the polysaccharides cannot be absorbed, or the enterocytes has no like a specific mechanism to uptake like a di and polysaccharides from the digested food and release it into the circulatory system. So the complex carbohydrate molecules should be converted into what? Into monosaccharides. Okay? Even if it is a disaccharide, it can be converted into what? Into mono. Polysaccharides again can be converted into the monosaccharides. Otherwise, the food is unabsorbable, or the carbohydrate is unabsorbable. And زور جالبه که تو کتابی بوسی امانات وانی سلیدوز حزم بکنی تو دیده وزید لبرویم انزایم مکانیک که بیگوره بوسی بو simple molecule یوکو monosaccharides لبرویم امانات وانی چیکن digestion بوسی. So some enzymes, the process of like a protein digestion can be regulated with the aid of some enzymes as we mentioned earlier, such as peptidase, CAPC, and they can convert like a protein and polypeptides into amino acids. It means simple molecules or single amino acids, dipeptides and tripeptides. The amino acids, or let's say dipeptides and tripeptides can be taken by the enterocytes. So, in contrast to that of the carbohydrate, which can be absorbed only as monosaccharides, the amino acids can be absorbed for the protein byproducts can be absorbed by a single amino acid, dipeptide, and tripeptide. Then, within the enterocytes, the absorbed dipeptide and tripeptides are hydrolyzed by a cytoplasmic peptidase. Then the amino acids are transported from the cells to the blood. So, through the process of the pathogenic diffusion. So it means only a single amino acid can be permitted to enter into the circulatory system. And check out rasakabol dipeptidic, legal tripeptidic, dipeptidic do amino acid, trilose amino acid, twanilla introcyte over here. While mechanism mechanism is the introcyte of the circulatory system, illa additive, illa additive, single amino acid. وأنزيمش في أماكن كثيرة في cytoplasmic peptides. It means the enzyme is located within the cytoplasm of the enterocytes, and it can convert the dipeptide and tripeptide into amino acids, and then the single amino acids can be permitted or transported from the enterocytes by the facilitated diffusion into the circulatory system. Absorption of lipids, most lipids are hydrophobic, as mentioned earlier. They need to be emulsified in the form of micelles. With the aid of biofilm, I think already mentioned this, then check out can have a whole biology. Then the fatty acids, monoglycerides, cholesterol diffuses across the luminal lens into the cells, only into the cells. Within the enterocytes, the products of lipid digestion are re-esterified. يعني الشيكار دوباره بيكو أنزينا ودرو سكينة وبأكينا وسكينة وترايغليسرايد cholesterol ester and phospholipids. So those products are aggregated to form what kilomicron with the aid of apoprotein. يعني الشيكار أمور شوانك re-esterification بكرا كرابة ترايغليسرايد cholesterol ester لقال phospholipids دعا وشيكر يكا جرين كو أبنى وشدو سكن molecular differentiated chylomicron with the aid of the apoprotein. The apoprotein they are a specific type of protein molecule. It can be produced by the enterocytes and they help the lipid transportation. So the chylomicron are transported out of the intestinal cells into the lymphatic vessels. So if you have a look here, the chylomicron or mostly the lipid molecules cannot directly enter into the blood vessels. So at first they can enter into the lymph vessels or lymphatic system through the process of exocytosis. When we are saying exocytosis, it means they have like a large size, so they cannot be transported in the form of like a fatty or facilitated diffusion or the other types of cell transportation. So that through the process of exocytosis, they can be excreted into the lymphatic vessels. Why? Why this is happening? Because the chylomicron has a larger size, and they cannot penetrate the capillary bed. So that's all about. And الشيء معناه كأنها الليبيد لغاية شو قدرت تواني لغاية لغاية lymphatic vessel جزء ودواء وشتو ناس secretory system وأكيد اللي ولا جوكو ستاوي with. I think this is all about the digestive system. I hope you can understand what I just mentioned here. And if you have any question, please feel free to ask me and ask your questions. I'm ready to answer your questions. Thank you very much. Besides what we mentioned about the normal physiological functions of the GI, here is some, or let us say few gastrointestinal tract related disorders. هنقدر disorder كانت باسك هناك من باسكين. The first one is called lactose intolerance. The lactose intolerance is resulted from the absence of lactase. Lactase is an enzyme which is responsible for the digestion of lactose. So when there is a defect in the secretion of this or in the production of this enzyme, lead to a condition which is called lactose intolerance. أنا أقول ثاني كبكرة اللي هني من على هيك شيء أخواني لقويش ممكن حالة هي شيء كانت ونت lactose كهضم بتاع وإلى كتشيل كتشوفي diarrhea. So inability to hydrolyze lactose to glucose and galactose for absorption. Non-absorbed lactose lead to the retention of water. So as you know, when there is a high amount of lactose in the GIT, this lead to the changes in the osmolarity of the intestinal content, and the water can be retained within the lumen of the GI. Can water in the and this causes what osmotic diarrhea. And check out diarrhea. The second one is the cystoria. It is resulted from indigestion of fat that are characterized by having excessive amount of fat in the feces. أما زوج ده لحالتي وكثاني gallbladder لا أبرد زوج تعطوشي حالتها بنيان بهوي أو كديفكت اللي دايجستني فاتا شيء كاسيستور يعني في سكان سوري في زوري. Then the second one is called the cystic fibrosis. It is a disorder of pancreatic secretion resulted from a defect in chloride canal that is caused by mutation in the cystic fibrosis transmembrane conductance regulator. أما جيني كتابتك كيفية مسؤولة لسيلة قوسنا كلورايد بتاعي لسيلة pancreatic cella وأمشيته هو كتير defect juice قوسنا chloride, and it is associated with the deficiency of pancreatic enzymes resulting in malabsorption and cysturia. يعني شكا cysturia يعني شكا أبيته هو أو كسا نتواني باشي pancreatic enzyme إفراز لك دروسك وأبيته هو أو كسا سيري حالتي بدخوراتي و هذا. Another disorder which is called fatty liver. It is an accumulation of fat droplets or higher amount of fat droplets within the hepatocyte. And now hepatocyte كانت تكون because that leads to the malfunction of the liver and function this is mainly related to fatty liver, mainly related to the type of the food. أنا إذا كخواري من عندي هو fatty liver. Some, let us say, chemical agents such as excessive cooling intake, يعني كسك كول زورا خاطر شيء كاروا أكتر بالنسبة لبعض السادسة وتريكا بتوعي بعد فاتي very توش وهني حاطي ترهيب والمنابه هوي جهل جاشتك والخنقين الناس ما صنعوا يخويبن والسوريان تقوى ذلك. Another type of the disorder which is called the gastric ulcer. It is an erosion of the stomach or intestinal mucosa caused by principally by the digestive action of gastric juice or upper small intestinal secretion. يعني gastric ulcer هم متعنزان في ما إذا الانتستين بالسبب يجني تدري السبب لا الميكوزا كيوا إذا كانت gastric juice لا irritation juice كالي نافوشي جدا ولا قال أصلاً طبعاً ما هو كاري زورة يكتب هو كاري كان بس كمان هي كثير بس بايلوري أو إذا هو زخار لقى الأمام يقول جا وهنا حاصل وهو excessive gastric juice وأكاد يابون منابه هو كم بنوي ميكروسكيشن stomach وبحر هو كاري وأكاد كذا